Brian Goldner, the CEO of Hasbro, was at the 28th annual Goldman Sachs Communacopia Conference, and he was asked a lot of questions and related to the different brands and the future of a lot of different brands. And the primary focus was talking about how Magic the Gathering is going to be on Netflix and how that's going to affect the future of that brand, and it could be a big boom and growth for it. And for people that aren't familiar with what this Goldman Sachs Communacopia Conference is, it's primarily for shareholders and companies that want to either license or invest in Hasbro product. So someone asked the question, and it was in relation to Transformers. And there's layers to the answer, and I want to kind of translate what he said here. So they asked, can you talk about your experience with Transformers may have informed you your desire to participate more in live TV and content production? Now, the question obviously is targeting that at this point when it comes to Hasbro, in terms of brands that they legitimately own, not just toys that they make, like they don't own Star Wars. They make the Star Wars toys. They don't own the Marvel universe of stuff. They just make the toys for it. But they own Transformers. But they own My Little Pony and Gem and Rom the Space Knight and G.I. Joe. So Transformers really is the only brand right now for them that really is doing a lot of media stuff that they own. So the question is really targeted at that because it's really the only brand that's really making a huge shakeup for them. Brian Goldner responded, yes, when you talk about Transformers, obviously the economics there is in the film business. But overall, if you just look at the concept of being able to get the franchise economics for your shareholders and also being able to calendarize increasing to line up with your global retailers. Who are you looking through? Their entertainment councils for best-in-class entertainment may help to inform more on their omni-channel efforts. More department at retail. How many departments can we inform to bring to life in our properties? And we see them with Bumblebee, referring to Bumblebee the movie. When we co-develop and co-produce that film, we were able to pick a window that we thought was quite good for our partners at Paramount. We were able to activate many, many categories, some in toy, some through licensed product, and then, of course, in gaming as well, as we have with those assets. So before I get into the second part of his answer, so pretty much what he's talking about is how through Transformers, they were able to really figure out how they could use that brand to really plan out all their other properties and all the other stuff in relation to a brand release. So like in the case of the Bumblebee movie comes out, they plan out toy releases, they plan out licensing products, aka companies that'll do Bumblebee bed sheets and pillowcases and cups and posters and all the related paraphernalia stuff that isn't done directly through Hasbro. And then, of course, again, when they said even gaming, so cell phone games, again, done through another company, not directly through Hasbro. So talking about how Transformers really taught them how to multi-brand their stuff in relation to Transformers and how Transformers really taught them that because they've had to do that already. And we'll get into it more with the second part of his answer here. So as we go forward, we see the opportunities to make our own franchise economics because first we deal with then and took nearly 5 years to create back to then the early 2000s. See, what he's talking about here was essentially when they were first working on the Transformer movies with Michael Bay, they were trying to hash out all that stuff early on because they knew that this was going to happen. And I mean, anyone who was around during the 2007 movie saw how the control art for the 2007 movie was just licensed on everything from pencil books to, I mean, there was 2007 movie anything, fishing rods, tackle boxes, like there was just, and then of course, probably the most platforms that a Transformer game ever was the 2007 movie. It was kind of crazy. We continue. We have learned something over the last 12 years being how long the Transformer movies have been around at this point. We've learned something over the last 12 years about what value is our IP. Our shareholders should benefit from that. obviously bringing on these capabilities in TV and film. I think something people will start understanding is how we help to accelerate these efforts, to monetize these efforts, and then bring them across the blueprint. Increasingly going after fan economics and activating brand relevance and resilience. So, the final part of that answer, it's him pretty much saying that the Transformer movies with Michael Bay and Bumblebee really helped Hasbro realize just how important their brand is on a bigger scale, and especially when it comes to shareholders and stuff. And again, this is a shareholders conference and a licensors conference, so he's obviously targeting his lingo, as confusing as it might sound at sometimes. He's really targeting the lingo at shareholders and people that want to put their money into the brand to be, whatever it'll be. I want to make, Transformer juice boxes because I'm, the Oasis company or, Coca-Cola Co. or whatever, so it's something that I've discussed this on the podcast before about how I feel that the future of Hasbro is to really focus on being a media company over being a toy company. Toys will be a part of the company, but I think that in order for them to survive in this new climate, being a media company is the most important thing. And I mean, it goes no further than looking at the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how you can't deny how much of a moneymaker, an absolute moneymaker, that franchise is. And yet, when everything is said and done, the toy side of it that Hasbro is responsible for, of the Avengers movies and stuff like that, does not pull in the numbers that they'd hope for. Granted, yes, their Marvel Legends lines find their audience and everything like that, but the more mainstream toy products that they make for their Avengers movies don't really do that well. And it's primarily because it's an obvious fact that being a media franchise is bigger money than being a toy company exclusively, even when you have a media franchise that's big money. Bumblebee did decently well. Unfortunately, the Bumblebee movie toys didn't do decently well. It's kind of been a big decline for Transformers since Dark of the Moon. Each individual movie since Dark of the Moon has had really bad toy sales that they don't get past 2 waves, or like 2.5 waves in the case of Dark of the Moon at most. So it's something that it's going to be interesting to see what they want to do in the future when it comes to Transformers, because they're really starting to take a step back and go, you know what? It's all about the IP. It's all about selling the IP, and toys really are slowly becoming a secondary thing for them for Transformers. And I think that has a lot to do with, we look at a lot of our product today and go, man, why is it so hollowed out? Why is it so simple in some areas? Why have mainline Transformers based on the TV shows don't have the high quality toys anymore? And, studio series is our only avenue for high-end movie toys, because Lord knows the mainline movie toys now are not the place to go if you want to get high-quality movie toys. It's because I think that they started to recognize now, and they look at their numbers, that, Dark of the Moon, which there was no studio series during Dark of the Moon. There, at most, your high-end movie toys during Dark of the Moon were, a movie masterpiece in Japan that really was just a leader class of something here in America, or maybe the Human Alliance stuff, the larger scale stuff, but in general, just whatever was mainline for Dark of the Moon was considered mainline and the highest quality product you could get. The Sentinel Prime is a great toy, the leader class, so it right away says that, the intent with Dark of the Moon was that's the main line. But when we moved forward into Age of Extinction and The Last Night, there was a departure slowly, not completely, but slowly, from movie toys having a main line that is of high quality. And we saw an increase in prices, but we didn't see an increase in quality, unfortunately. And then when we got to Bumblebee, post Combiner Wars, post Power of the Primes, and And we saw how already, and again, post Robots in Disguise 2.0, when we saw how the budget going into product has diminished heavily, we kind of knew where the future was going with that. So what we have here is Brian Goldner pretty much making some Transformer fans, including me, go, well, looks like we're going to keep on trucking in that direction of how they handle a lot of the toys and properties like that. Look, I think a lot of us adult collectors and older collectors who have a larger budget and more disposable income, that's why we look to Masterpiece. That's why we look to more expensive generations related stuff, in this case in Siege, the higher price points. That's why we look at third party, because of what is happening right now with Transformers from a business standpoint and a toy standpoint. Now, hopefully we'll still have our outlets for us as adult collectors to enjoy stuff. But it really looks like the simplification of product and the budget product is going to continue as they focus more on other places for the IP. Again, I see it being more of a media gaming franchise with toys being secondary. In the same way when you go to Toys R Us or Walmart or whatever and you see Fortnite action figures, but Fortnite is not defined by their action figures. Fortnite is defined by its game, and action figures are a healthy coincidence of success. And if those action figures aren't good, it's not going to change the fandom and the game and its ecology. But Transformers, it's a different story. For the longest time, the success of the toys determined the continuing of the IP in media. It seems like that might get flipped around one day. And as crazy as this sounds, we might live in a world where we're going to have Transformers where they'll have shows, but they won't have toys. And as crazy as that sounds, I mean, the way I look at it, we already live in a world where Cyberverse is a TV series that exists, but the toys do not make a strong effort to accurately represent what is on the TV screen. It's like having the Transformer 2007 movie and all the toys in relation to the movie were fast action battlers. Just for fans who don't know what fast action battlers are, just look at that price point that existed during the 2007 movie and imagine if that was the only toys we ever got to represent the 2007 movie. That's kind of what Cyberverse feels like right now. The budget price point, because Fast Action Battlers was the gimmicky budget price point for the 2007 movie, but we still had every other price point from the deluxe onward that did a better job, and even better later on. Anyways, just something I want to talk about. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to link the article, and you could read it over. They talk about G.I. Joe. They talk about a few other things too, but just worth taking a good read at, because it kind of gives us a little bit of a crystal ball look at what might be the future for the brand going into 2020 onward.